Since I was a child, I've always dreamed of having my own shop. Not a little shed, but a full-on building, a little piece I could call paradise. As a child, it was my dad's garage. In high school, I worked in an automotive shop, and in college during the summers, I would bust tires dreaming someday, one day, I would have a space I could call my own. And that time, it's finally here. I've always told myself that if I were to do this, I would build it as I have envisioned it, not some little shed. I've been saving money for the better part of my adult life to make this dream a reality, but when the time came, we quickly realized that that budget was severely inefficient to hire a general contractor and have them knock this out for me. So that means yours truly will be doing a lot of the work and leading the project all together. Pray for us. Now, getting to this point has been fairly complicated. We live in a homeowners association. As you can guess, there's a lot of things we cannot do in this neighborhood. On top of that, we live within city limits, which puts additional complexity on top of all that. Fortunately, we got creative and have approval both from the city and HOA. Now, to get the shop built how I envision it, it's gonna require bolting down the building. Yeah, that's a thing. Because these are anchor bolts coming in at 24 inches in length and nearly 1 inch in thickness. These bad boys is what's gonna be holding down the 40-foot by 50-foot shop, coming in about 20 feet in height at its peak. A very large structure, and we got 32 of these bad boys, actually 40 in total. We gotta get set in for the concrete because this encompassed in the concrete in the building, bolts on top. Simple as that, right? Nothing. For those of you that are new around here, I'm just a crazy Hawaiian Texan that loves cars, has always dreamed of having his own shop. However, it's fairly expensive. In order to do this thing and be able to afford it, we're doing a lot of it with our own two hands. And me, as homeowner here in the state of Texas, I can play the part as my own general contractor. What we're gonna be seeing and tackling first is the final grade and formers, including our number 3 rebar going 16-inch on center, and finalizing that foundation for our 40 by 50. That's also got a 5-inch brick ledge because we have to brick the whole thing. Thanks a lot, Homeowners Association. What's going on right now, it's so dang hot on this pad that some of these measurements are actually a little bit off. If your long tape measure isn't made of metal, with the heat, that vinyl begins to stretch a little bit and gives you a little bit of play, which is what you don't want when you need something perfectly square, especially when it's going to be a metal building, because the anchor bolts have to be placed within 1/4 of an inch tolerance where they need to go. So what we're doing here is fine-tuning the formers because it was off just barely. Making progress. So a lot of work was done today on the shop. You'll see the formers complete, all the rebar is laid. Productive day, however, went through 2 different fire drills. Final plans for the metal building. They had the columns too far in on the front and back. They weren't off, they were just planning on a different type of building. Got to figure it out though. We are days away from laying a significant amount of concrete, like a lot. That is going to be very expensive. And speaking of real timelines, guys, we actually just finished up LS Fest at Texas Motor Speedway, both with the C5 Corvette, as well as Night Matcha ZL1. We did not place in the competition. However, we had an absolute blast. I pretty much destroyed the tires on the ZL1. If you guys have not seen that video, I'll link it in the description below. That was probably one of the best weekends I have ever had with my dad, and I cannot wait till next year for them to come back. We can participate again in a bigger and better way. And if you guys are enjoying the content at any point in the video, feel free to scroll down, hit the subscribe button below, and follow along as this dream becomes a reality, because without you guys watching, it doesn't exist. So the crew did an awesome job today. We have all of our rebar laid at 16 inches on center for the full driveway, and then we have our pad pretty much squared up and ready to go. We had a little bit of a fire drill to kind of figure out the exact recess specs for our garage door opening. I had a few garage doors in mind that I wanted, however, I did not have any of the specs ready, so we were able to figure that out. We got that tackled. We also had a slight adjustment on our formers because it was just barely off. So the boss man, Mr. Blake, actually literally put his shoulder into it and was able to get this thing straightened out. And even with all of this, we're still a little ways away from being able to pour concrete. Mr. Blake was nice enough to lend me his metal tape measurer because I have one of those plastic vinyl ones, because there's a few things we have to do in order to prep for our anchor bolts. So the anchor bolts on this thing are pretty substantial. Now, as you see across all four corners, there's a location for that metal building frame to come down and mount to the foundation. That's where the anchor bolts are coming into play. Now, with the size and location of those anchor bolts, you can see a little bit of green there. That's where one of the 4 anchor bolts is actually going to go. We have to chip away a little bit at this pad to allow the anchor bolt to recess enough. On top of that, Mr. Blake is allowing me to build the template for the anchor bolt. What that template will be is essentially a piece of wood that's mounted to the former at an exact location to hold those anchor bolts in place as that concrete is poured. After that concrete is poured, you pull your template up, you have your anchor bolts mounted in place, embedded within that concrete. Across the center, we have 2 columns 24 inches deep, and then an additional wind column on the front side of that column. It's gonna be solid. And then on our flatwork and driveway, we have a large area that's going to be an absolute blast with my kids. I'm gonna love hanging out here with my family, chilling, driving cars, detailing cars, doing a couple donuts. Just kidding, HOA, just kidding. So I think you guys are about up to speed on everything that's happened to this point. So what's up next is a very meticulous process, which is creating those anchor bolt templates. These anchor bolts, and there's about 40 of them, have to be placed exactly where they go in the final location. We only have a 1/4 of an inch tolerance for this metal building to bolt down correctly. So we're gonna spend some time in the garage for these massive metal solid shafts. I gotta stop calling them shafts. It's actually my neighbor who sits on the architectural control committee for our homeowners association. It was a big part of helping me get this thing approved. So that dude's awesome. I tell you, I think half the battle is just getting tools down and situated where they need to be. So we got our miter saw down from the attic, cut out all of our several templates, but someday, one day, we'll have a shop with all of this stuff readily available versus up in the attic. So this is down now. Let's finish up these templates. All right, we ran into a little snag. There's 2 size drill bits that are needed for our anchor bolt templates. There's a 5/8 inch and then a 3/4 inch. We did verify that the anchor bolts they sent were actually a little bit too large, but they're modifying the final order on our red iron beams to fit these larger bolts, because this is actually gonna be a lot stronger, but since they are thicker, I need a thicker drill bit. So we drilled out the 5/8 inch. So these are all set to go. The rest of them need to be 3/4 inch or now 7/8. Anchor bolts are a wee bit too large to fit in there. So we're at a quick stopping point because I'm running the Tractor Supply, and hopefully they have a 7/8 inch drill bit. It's always something. Doggy. That was a lot of anchor bolts. Lots of long, hard shafts. All right, so we have 4 different templates. We have A, B, C, D, and we have 2 different sizes of anchor bolts. Now, the next step on this is to look specifically where exactly these are mounting up on our pad. For example, this template A, there is my line where the brick ledge is going to end. We built all of these exactly to spec, did my best to drill them out on the exact precise locations. So next up, time to measure our pad up, slap our anchor bolts in place. And then today, sometime, the city's supposed to be coming for an inspection. I think they might have already. They're inspecting the location of the pad, the rebar, make sure everything's set and good to go where it's at. And then tomorrow, the foundation engineer is coming out to inspect the pad pre-pour. And then from there, early next week, the metal building company will be coming to inspect the location of the anchor bolts to give their final sign off. Once those 3 things are done, we have a very expensive man-made rock.
This is a shakedown. Order up that beat just like it's takeout. Show me you got soul inside those new shoes, and you can rock and roll with an attitude. So good, so fresh, just the way you like it. Just the way you like it. You're the new MC, you got the remix. Keep it on repeat, just let the beat kick. Everywhere you go, you bring.
Good news, we've passed 2 of our 3 inspections, which we're now learning is going to be 4 inspections. The city came by yesterday, took a look at our pad for our pre-pour inspection. It passed. However, when I requested the pre-pour inspection, I assumed it was that and this, but apparently, my bad, I have to request the driveway separately. So they got to come back now on Tuesday because this is the holiday weekend and inspect the driveway on Tuesday to approve that. The engineered foundation is signed off by the engineer, and then the last inspection we still have to go is for our anchor bolts. The metal building company will come by and measure each of the anchor bolt locations and sign that off before they go and bring the metal building in. And excuse the tough guy tank top. I'm trying to work through this farmer's tan we got from LS Fest. Hours later, guys, we're just having fun out here. Taking all the time we can to do the things that I'm gonna have to live with forever. So first off, getting the brick ledge absolutely level. Probably not super critical, but I wanted it. Also, because I know I'm gonna forget, I've measured it. I know where the 2-post lift support is. On both sides, we've kind of marked it up a little bit. So once they pour the slab, we'll get it lined up, measured, and marked so we know exactly where that 2-post will eventually go. What's up, you guys? It's been a few days. We have everything pretty much set, ready to go for all of our inspections. All 12 anchor bolt templates have been placed, and all 40 anchor bolts are exactly where they need to go, hopefully, because Mr. Blake's coming back today for a preliminary measurement, making sure they're good to go before we send the metal building company dude out here to check. Over the last few days, we've also done a lot of fine-tuning work with some of the extra material we had. Taking the extra rebar and kind of reinforced some of these corners. Probably totally overkill and not necessary, but we had material, so might as well. And actually made that squared up perfectly against that wall. Rounded this corner out a little bit better with the formers, and spent some time throwing some extra rebar ties in there to make sure it's all reinforced, ready for concrete. It's just crazy to think that this is gonna be a massive concrete slab. I am so stoked for this. Man, this is awesome. What you doing up there?
Show me you got soul. This is a shakedown.
We are final home stretch for concrete. We've had so many inspections. So CD came back out here, checked our flat work. thumbs up, good to go there. We had a preliminary measurement on our anchor bolts from the concrete company, good to go there. The CEO of the metal building company came out and measured every one of these anchor bolts. Boom. Good to go there as well. So we are completely passed and ready to go from an inspection standpoint. We are fully approved to pour. This is a long time coming, and I couldn't be more excited that this is finally happening. But for one last time for you guys, before we are out here early morning, ready to lay concrete, this is gonna do it for today. Thank you so much for joining me in this journey, this multi-year project, which has led us to here, that everything is ready to go. We'll catch you in a few days for our next video. Until that day comes, as always, y'all take care. Ahui ho. Aloha. It turns out when you ask for a pre-pour inspection in the city, they come and check the foundation of... Cannot catch a break, can I? Just found freeing my shin. That was painful.
Get up on your feet, this is a shakedown.